This ADHD Life is brought to you by you. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to support me in other ways and continue This ADHD Life mission and podcast, please visit thisadhdlife.com/support. Welcome back to This ADHD Life, the podcast for folks with ADHD. And I have to say, it's been a while since I've recorded one of these. Stay tuned because I'm going to be talking a little bit about why it's been so long since I recorded one of these. But first, have you ever found yourself falling into a habit? So back during ADHD Awareness Month, I reassured you that I'd be doing a podcast on routines, on how you actually have routines, whether or not you realize you have routines. And routines, of course, let's just take a little bit of a deeper dive. Routines are simply a series of habits sort of all stacked together, all sewn together into a nice little package. Things that you do repeatedly without even knowing. So, for example, I have a morning routine, or I had a morning routine of getting up, doing my morning business, going out to the bookcase where my iPhone lives for the night. That's right, my iPhone doesn't live inside of my bedroom. Grabbing the iPhone, grabbing my reading glasses, and going into the bedroom and looking through some email, playing Animal Crossing, looking through the day's news, surfing here, there, and everywhere. Doing that about 15 to 20 minutes before I'd come out, make breakfast, take my ADHD medication. Not pro or con ADHD medication, but I find it helpful for me. And then making breakfast, sitting down and watching some YouTube videos, maybe some of the clips from the late shows the night before, something new to learn. And I'd do that for about half an hour to an hour. And then I'd get up and I'd walk my dog, and then I'd come back, and that's where the routine ended. But it was a routine. I did that consistently day in and day out, and it wasn't something that I intended to do. It wasn't something that I sat down with a planner or a goals worksheet or some fancy form off the internet and said, step 1 is wake up, step 2 is this, step 3 is... I didn't do that. The point of today's video and podcast, because I'm trying something where I'm releasing it to YouTube and in audio form, this ought to be fun. The point here is that if you don't choose your routines will choose you. Or maybe more accurately, if you don't consciously choose your routines, you will unconsciously choose your routines. We as humans are creatures of habit. We like to have habits. It's the way we operate best. Habits require very little executive function. Habits are driven from sort of the back area of our brain. There are things that once they're habitualized, we don't have to think about doing. It's the way that we learn to drive. It's the way that we learn to brush our teeth. And if we're consistent with it, it becomes sort of a thing that if you don't do it, it seems crazy not to be doing it. Habits are easy for us to do, but not necessarily easiest for us to form. And especially if we haven't picked a habit to form. So if you think of the classic old habit, and maybe this is dating me, I do turn 46 here in a couple of days, of cigarette smoking. Not many people chose to get addicted to cigarettes. They might have started because they thought it was cool or something like that. But I don't think anyone set out to make a habit of smoking daily. I could be wrong. If I am, feel free to write me, info@thisadhdlife.com. But that's the type of habit that you can form. Just like my morning routine was really a series of habits. One of the habits was getting up and making breakfast and then sitting down to watch YouTube for some time period. That was a habit. That was part of my larger routine. And that is what happened during ADHD Awareness Month C. I promised I'd wrap it all around, and I did. So I made videos for 31 days during October of 2018. You can go and watch those on YouTube. Little short videos, 2 to 3 minutes each. Maybe you did watch all of them. And if you did, well, congratulations, because I only recorded them. I didn't watch all of them. The point, though, is that I wound up waking up Thursday morning, November 1st, thinking, hey, I don't have to create any YouTube videos today. Yay, this is one day I don't have to do it. And then my mind started going, hey, you need to create a YouTube video. Hey, dude, when are you going to create the YouTube video? Dude, you've been doing this for the past 31 days. It's time to create a YouTube video. Well, hey, Keith, why are you not creating the YouTube video? I had to fight my brain. For a minute, I thought, hey, this is really awesome. Maybe I will create YouTube videos every day for 365 days a year for the next decade. And then I came to my senses and went, yeah, I could do that. I could absolutely get that into a habit. But that was not my intended result. I did not intend to record videos every day for more than a month a year. That is not something that I would not want to be doing, or something I wouldn't want to be doing. There we go. Thank you for Spark letting me know that you cannot be open during installation. Hey, distraction. That's awesome. Maybe that'll be part of the This ADHD Life drinking game. So, getting back to routines and habits, I hope you understand the basic premise here is that if you don't pick your habits, and habits lead to routines, and you don't pick your routines, you will wind up with habits and routines that you never consciously picked. It is also to say that it's completely possible to pick habits and routines and to develop them. Now, as someone with ADHD, and for fellow folks with ADHD, it can be a lot harder to form a habit. In fact, I was a little bit shocked that 31 days of doing videos created a habit for me. I tend to find it takes 60 to 90 days for me, but hey, great. Triple word score. I got a habit in 31 days. We can create habits and routines, but we have to pick them. We have to be interested in them, which means it has to be somewhat interesting to us, or we have to make it interesting. So that's where rewards come in. One might say, just for getting out of bed, I got a reward of watching some YouTube videos because I love learning. So you have to make it interesting. You have to have a good intent behind it. You have to it has to speak to you or resonate with you. And there are ways to figure that out. I mean, for anyone that doesn't brush their teeth on a daily basis, and raise your hand in the privacy of your own car or home or office building, raise your hand if you don't brush your teeth every day. You know you want to. You probably have a great intent to brush your teeth every day. You want to have a nice smile. You want to not have teeth pulled. You want to be free of cavities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it may not be all that interesting to you. It's, for me, I have an Oral-B. It's 2 minutes of boredom. So how could you make that into a habit? Well, maybe you listen to a little bit of a podcast every day in the mornings, or maybe you get a reward afterwards. You can make it interesting. You also have to have the intent. So does that make sense? You have the intent to brush your teeth, but you haven't made it interesting. You have an interest for taking up a sport, for example, but you haven't found the intent yet, or at least the one that really resonates with you. If you try the old, well, because it's why I want to get healthier, that doesn't always work. It might be easier to say, well, because I want to hang out with friends, or hey, because I want to learn this really esoteric sport. Cricket, anyone? Apologies to my viewers outside of the United States. And thank God I didn't say football, right? So you can create routines. Habits lead to routines. You can create habits. It can happen. And the big takeaway is, if you don't create your own routines and habits, you'll actually create them unconsciously. So, on to the second part of this podcast. I probably should edit in some music right now, but I'm not going to. Back in May, when I did the last episode of this podcast, I mentioned that I had an excellent coaching session that would help me actually create more podcasts. Well, it still was an excellent coaching session, and I really did get a lot out of it, but apparently I needed some time to stew on it. Write to me or post it in the comments of this podcast episode or on YouTube if you have ever learned something and then it's taken you months to implement it because you just kind of had to think about it and let it sit with you for a while. So what was the lesson? The lesson was that for my entire life, or for most of my entire life, I had been living with people telling me that they didn't understand me. That things I was saying were somehow against the mainstream, that I was just crazy or a kook, or I was out there, or I was moving too fast, or I had too many ideas, or this, that, or the other thing. So the entirety of my life had been that. This feeling that I had a voice, but no one really wanted to hear that voice because it was not not in the same tempo or same mindset of their voices. And that has limited me from creating content. There, dramatic pause as I think about the next thing to say. Because that's sort of a deep subject. I had been really sort of censoring myself, fearing that creating these podcasts and now videos, people wouldn't get it. People wouldn't understand. And they would sort of judge me and think, well, he's just a kook. And hey, on YouTube, I expect a few people to call me a kook and hopefully worse. But it's a terrible existence to live through, and I don't think my story, in fact, I know my story is not a singular story. I've talked to many people with ADHD that have voiced some sort of similar characteristics or some version of the same story, where we get to a point where we just feel so misunderstood that it's easier not to record stuff or to even speak than to actually go out there and put yourself out on the public internet and have an opinion, which is so crazy because it seems like the internet is only good for porn and opinions these days, and I really don't understand why there are not more porn-oriented opinion podcasts. But I digress, or do I distract? I'm not sure. It's a sad story. And as you are listening to this, or at least as this is released, I will be either in flight or at the International Conference on ADHD. It happens every November. It's really easy to remember because for some reason it happens during the same week that we go through a time zone change here in the U.S. We lose our daylight savings time. Yeah, that's fun. So change the complete rules of time and then expect us to show up for things. Hey, awesome. But that's how I remember it every year. It's during the time zone change in November. And the past few years, I have really started to understand that my voice is not that different from some others out there. Yeah, I might be in the minority, and that's fine. But at least I know that there are other people out there that have similar thoughts, have similar problems, have similar worries, have similar issues with their brain just racing 1,000 miles an hour. And you might be asking, Keith, why are you recording this video and this podcast on Election Day in the United States when you should be packing for the conference? Well, it is the anxiety portion of my ADHD. Okay, so what am I doing? I'm stalling the anxiety portion of my ADHD. It's election day. I'm concerned about the election, as I think really most Americans are concerned. I wouldn't be surprised if a large part of the world is concerned about the election. No matter your politics, you have your guys or gals that you want to win. And so you're concerned about that. And I'm especially concerned about that, just coming from a mental health perspective. That's a topic for another podcast. But I am also concerned about travel. Even though I've traveled a number of years for work, I still get a little bit of pre-travel anxiety. Am I going to pack everything? Am I going to get to the airport on time? Am I going to be able to control my impulses and not yell at people to get out of my way when they're blocking the doors to the train in the airport? I worry about those things. And so for whatever reason, my brain today, as I was walking my dog, said, hey, you know what? Let's just distract ourselves from that junk and record and edit a podcast instead. Besides, it's been 75 years since you did one. It's time for one. And you want to build a habit of creating YouTube videos every week. Yeah, Keith, now's the time. Now's the time to do it. And that's how this podcast came to be. Back in May, I got an excellent coaching session, and I realized that I was really limiting myself from producing content because of the number of times that people didn't understand me. And also because I consciously want to create a habit and some routines to support it that has me producing content on a weekly basis. Wrapping this up, I am curious to know, on all of this subject matter, what affects you? What are your opinions on this subject matter? Do you have habits and routines that you have created, or do you feel like they're impossible? Or maybe now you think, oh, hey, actually there's hope. I could do this. And how about this whole feeling misunderstood thing? Does that resonate with you? Let me know in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube, or you can head over to thisadhdlife.com and comment there. You can tweet me, you can Facebook me, and as that rather announcery sounding voice said in the beginning, if you'd like to learn more and support my Finding My Voice and more podcasts and videos of this nature, please head over to thisadhdlife.com/support. You can find about 95 ways to support me. Right now, I'd say that the biggest way to support me is at patreon.com/thisadhdlife. I'm really wanting to change that and start building it up. But anyway, you can do it even if it's just a subscribe and a thumbs up on this video and a little hit the bell icon and do a handstand. That would help as well. I hope you are having a great day no matter where and when you're listening to this. Oh, and one thing. If you are in transit to the conference, or you're at the conference and you're watching this video, I actually bought this shirt today, and I will be wearing this either Friday or Saturday. So if you're there and you want to meet up, just find the guy that looks like me wearing this shirt and come say hi. Because why not? It's an ADHD conference, and we're there to meet each other and to feel understood. Okay, so that's it. Really wrapping up now. I hope you're having a great day. I know I said that. Take care, and I will talk to you in another week.